Hey people, what's going on? It's Tuesday, 2nd of May, and it's a mixture of information I have to share today, some good and some, well, again, it's just goes with the times and with people my age and the passing of, for me, the golden era of music. I'll talk about Gordon Lightfoot in a second, but let me share my good news first, which is the second edition of this album, The Muse, is due tomorrow. I'm due to receive the second 100 CDs by tomorrow at 7, which is very good news because I can't hold on to this. Um, Paul Jr., you said you wanted one, and I had one sitting aside, but I can't hold on to these. I can't keep these. I can't hold on to them. Um, Trish, this CD that I was going to send you, I'm going to actually sell this one to the film director who's coming to my house in a little while. He wants one, and so it is kind of like, well, first come first serve. Even though you folks have let me know you want it, you'll get yours, okay? But the shipment of the next 100 is due to arrive by tomorrow at 7. That's very good news. I'm also looking forward to seeing if the second edition is as I thought. It's a fully glass mastered CD, not a CDR. I'd love that if that's the case. I mean, it's fine the way it is, but when I first ordered, in order to have gotten that step done, you needed to order 300 CDs. Now, I've sold that many copies of stuff I've done before, but there's no guarantee, and so I hesitated to pay that amount, because it's a much larger amount than getting 100. But anyway, that's happening. And what I'll do is I will put them back on sale on Friday, Bandcamp Friday. May as well try to utilize that service to my advantage, to the band's advantage. Even though, well, yeah, you can call us a band. We were Chemicals. Cubby Blake and I were in the band Chemicals back in 2016, 2017. So yeah, but just get the word that Canadian singer-songwriter, to me, legendary, Gordon Lightfoot has passed. And again, being that he was in his 80s and how time just keeps moving, it's just every other day, every day we're losing someone. Gordon Light is very significant in my life, and it's going to be. I probably won't get the total gist of why, but I want to explain that music hit me hard before I could talk, as my parents explained. I love music. I love harmony. I love the voice. I do. I love. And so, as a child, this is important. Back in the early 60s, as I was absorbing music and really becoming aware of things, my first awareness of singer-songwriters and that whole ilk was the blues and folk music. I mean, real folk music. And then the stuff that my elders listened to, everyone from Lead Belly to Burl Ives, okay, to Bob Dylan. I got introduced to Bob Dylan before he had hits because of the deep well of music around me. But Bob Dylan couldn't sing, and so that put me off from his words. But when I heard Donovan, and I heard Donovan before he went psychedelic, that's what I want you to understand. This all feeds into the importance of Gordon Lightfoot in my life. When I first heard Donovan, it was like Josie, Colors, Catch the Wind. I was captivated by the sound of the guitar, the sound of his voice, and and the words, the way they would just make my imagination just fly. And it was the fact that Donovan could sing that was the difference between him and Dylan for me. Dylan can sing. His voice is very irritating. So, setting that much, okay? Throughout my childhood, because the 60s, the singer-songwriter thing with acoustic guitars was a big thing as I was growing up. So by the time I get into high school, Cat Stevens, James Taylor, all that stuff is really happening. My closest friends in high school turned me on to Gordon Lightfoot beyond the radio. When I first heard If You Could Read My Mind, and I'll start showing records now because I've got them. I'm only missing one of his major records, Old Dan's Records. I don't think I have that one. But when I heard this song on the radio, it captivated me. It was the melody as well as the words. The combination of the words and the melody, you just made my mind fly. And his voice, what a wonderful voice. Happy to say this is a nice import copy. I think it's a UK reprise pressing. His voice just almost bubbles out of his body. It's so rich. So this song really captivated me, but my good friends in high school, I have to mention one in particular, Mark Jaunty, because we were at prep together. But he was playing in bands already. I wasn't yet, didn't even have an instrument. So he was associating with some kids from another school. And that's how I met Jim McLaughlin. And I have to mention him by name because Jim was the person who was a fanatic about Gordon Lightfoot, could play Gordon Lightfoot songs and could sing. Jim is still good if he's still playing. So that's how I got turned on to Gordon Lightfoot as a musician and someone beyond the radio, because Jim was way into him, and he turned me on to The Way I Feel. And I've had this album since then. I've had this album since my teens, okay, and that ringwear is because we played the hell out of this record, and I took it a lot of places with me. When I basically ran away, if you don't know, that's what I was doing, Stephanie, when I moved to Colorado, supposedly, with Jim McLaughlin. We were running away from a situation that Jim was in. And like nutty teenagers, we take almost everything we have. So I take my clothes, my box of records. I ended up homeless out there. This was in that box of records, that I ended up hitchhiking after I got kicked out and sleeping on the streets. I had a box of records with me. Gordon Lightfoot was in it, among others. This album is, okay, this one, I'll put them together. That album, The Way I Feel, along with this one, Did She Mention My Name? These are Desert Island classics for me. These are two of my favorite all-time albums out of all these records. And I haven't talked about Gordon Lightfoot yet, because it's very personal to me, okay? These are two, Desert Island. It's the music as well as his voice, the songwriting, and the words. It's a total picture. The music on here and the arrangements with the strings are, to me, to die for. This is the Wherefore and the Why. The last time I saw her, Black Day in July. Every song, Does Your Mother Know? The Mountains and Marianne, good heavens. Pussy Willow's Cattails. Those are just some amazing songs. His voice, the imagery that he brings through his words, incredible. And then surely you folks who know about Gordon Lightfoot know about the Canadian Railroad trilogy. Even as a kid, it was like sitting on the floor listening to a really good storyteller. Did you all have one of those when you were a kid? I mean, everyone had stories read to them, but there were exceptional people. My grandfather was one. He would just captivate you with his words. He could just create the whole world. Canadian Railroad trilogy is like that. and it just captivated me. It was like, seeing a movie like John Brown's Cave or some kind of shit, or it was like seeing history through this song. I played it again last night. I hadn't played it in decades, and the effect wasn't the same as the Cave. But it was like, wow, what a grand, majestic song, what a picture, and he's able to encapsulate that. I mean, he was the workers, he was the narrator. Incredible. Gordon Lightfoot was a massive influence on me, even as a songwriter. On my second album, the words aren't any good, but it's on my second album. I can't think of the name of it now, but it's the way that it goes. See, I even have an acoustic guitar I haven't played in years. It needs a lot of repair. But Gordon Lightfoot was a huge bright light of music for me, alongside Miles Davis and Genesis in particular. Those, he's a giant to me. He is. From the very beginning, this I think is his first U.S. album, might be his first album, period, I think. From the very beginning, that beautiful, is it baritone voice? But also the way he plays and the melodies. See, that's the thing I got to get across to you. Gordon Lightfoot knew that it was important to have good music. The songs are fantastic songs. And because of the nature of Gordon Lightfoot's career, his records over the years have been really easy to find for $1 or $2, and so I have several. And what I'm happy to say is all of the records, including the later period ones, all have good songs and good music on them. So we can go back, best of Gordon Lightfoot, as you see. I just wore these albums out. Stephanie, I know you watch my videos. I don't know if you recognize this guy as I talk about him, but you would hear this music coming from my room a lot. Besides Yes and Genesis, and in the early days Deep Purple and stuff like that. These aren't in any order, so I'm just going to just show them. Salute. This is a 80s period album. 1983, Gordon Lightfoot. Can't tell you the good song up here, but there's a good song on here. This is not fluff. That's what I like about Gordon Lightfoot. He always had integrity. He knew how to write a good song that would be ear-catching. But the integrity of the songwriting has always been there. Check every single album he made. Endless Wire. Here's a good one. Sweet Guinevere up here. Songs the Minstrel Sang. And then his backing musicians who had been with him for a while. Terry Clements comes to mind right away. He always played Red Shea. Good players. Even though he was in his late 80s, my understanding he was still performing up until recently. Is this the most recent album I have by him? East of Midnight, 1986 possibly. Once again, if you see these, if you like Gordon Lightfoot and you see these in the dollar bins and keep passing them, buy them. You'll find at least one, if not two, good songs. Classic Lightfoot, again, this is that period is early period, and this is like a compilation. Great songs. An import of I have to look and see here right quick, because I have never checked this out. This is called The Way I Feel, but is it actually the same as this? Let me just check. I've really never looked. And yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah. So this is an import reissue of The Way I Feel that I found somewhere. Big hit from his. I said, Sundown. Okay, so now let me get it together. Sundown, great song. This whole album is fantastic. There's some wonderful. Seven Islands Suite? Are you kidding me? Circle of Steel. Is There Anyone Home? See, these songs touch my heart. The words as well as his voice in the songs. This came out in '74. I think this is the year that I got to see him live. Me and my friends, I mentioned Jim, but also Mark, and then Ralph Stewart, and even Dennis and Bob. See, that was this circle right out of high school that I was really tight with for several years. And this was part of our soundtrack as well as Genesis. But we went to see Gordon Lightfoot in concert in Lincoln. And it's one of my top live music experiences of all time. And here's the reason why. Gordon Lightfoot played as a three-piece. He had one of his main guys with him, possibly that guy Red Shea, I think, was with him. Terry Clements was with him. I think those were the guys, okay? But anyway, they play at a auditorium about 3,000 seater. I think the Pershing. Somebody correct me if they know the size, but that was the place where I saw early concerts, my first big concerts, Uriah Heep, Grateful Dead, all that stuff. But they came out and just sat right at the front of the stage, 3 chairs. They brought their booze out. It was really intimate. It was amazing how intimate it was. They just come out, started to play and drink, and they got drunk. And it seemed like the more they drank, the better they played. Okay, so we had fairly decent seats on the main floor, but as it went, the intensity and the beauty of the music really continued. It didn't devolve, it got better. It brought tears to my eyes, not just me, but I think almost all the other guys with me. I know at least Jim. We were captivated. And at one point, it was a sit-down affair. I just said, fuck it, I have got to get close to this man, to this music. So I got out of my seat towards the end of the show and went up like a rock star, like a rock show, and stood at the foot of the stage, mesmerized by what they were playing. And when I got up close, I could see how drunk they were, and it was like, damn. It reminded me of growing. It was the kind of situation I grew up in my home. Musicians with great skill, partying all night, playing their asses off. And usually, in hindsight, I'd probably say the reason why the jams would end is because it's morning, people got to go to work, and they're just tore up, They got to get some rest, but they play their asses off all night, high and drunk out of their minds. It's one of the top concert experiences of my life. Gordon Lightfoot was exceptional. Cold on the Shoulder, once again, every song on this album. Gordon Lightfoot was so good that I just took the country in with everything else. It just fit his nature of a person, that country feel. He also struck me as, this has got to be a decent guy. I bet you Gordon Lightfoot is a decent human being. By that I mean he's probably not a racist son of a bitch. He's probably a decent man. I bet he was. Summertime Dream. Did I just show this? See? He made so many records. Cold on the Shoulder, good one. Summertime Dream, good. This one, oh my God. Have you ever heard this, Summer Side of Life? This is fantastic. This is like up there with like Lamb Lies Down on Broadway for me. Am I getting across to you folks how much Gordon Lightfoot music means to me and how important he is? Best of Lightfoot. Gord's Gold. Sure, it's easy to find these. Or it was for a while, so I got it. Sunday Concert. Fantastic. Man. Another later period, Shadows. Gordon Lightfoot Shadows. Gord's Gold Volume 2. They're all worth having. And the last one I don't have old Dan's records. Dream Street Rose. I think he was phenomenal. I really do. And I feel very fortunate that I got to see him perform live. So rest in peace, Gordon. Share your thoughts about Gordon with me, please. But I'll end on a bright note. So Trish, Again, making that little comment about seeming naivety. It wasn't a cut. It wasn't a criticism. It was an honest observation based on many things that I've heard you say. And you're a dear person, but I have to share that as we have interacted, there's a lot where you'll share things where it's like, I, as a black person, can't have that view. For example, talking about trusting the Post to do their job. Well, sure, we have to trust that, but my view is a little different, partially from experience, partially from the black experience. But I know a lot of people who have worked and still work for the post office. So I know what goes on, okay? I know how crazy some of those people are, okay? That damage to the envelope probably happened at the post office, okay? So it's not a cut. I needed to say that, Trish, you're a great person, wonderful person, okay? Not a criticism, just an observation, okay? So, today is going to be interesting. Jim Fields, the filmmaker, is coming up from Lincoln in a couple hours to interview me for a documentary. He's back into filmmaking, I'm glad, because for a minute there, he stopped because he just, he lost all his money. It wasn't lucrative. He wasn't making any money. But just like me, filmmaking is in his bones. Music is in my bones. So I can't not make music. And so he's back to filmmaking. I'm happy. He's the first person to hire me to write music for a film. That's where Flyover came out of. But he'll be here to interview me for his upcoming documentary. I saw where he interviewed Les Greer down in Lincoln, who owned Lefty's Records and is a great guy. So I'm excited about the interview today and seeing Jim and hanging out and having my brain picked about Nebraska music. I like being interviewed, actually, quite a bit. Okay, this has gone on for a while. Family, as always, sending you love. Friends, as always, sending you love. People I don't know, as always, I'm sending you love. Okay, there is no reason to continue to pay any attention to this horrible narrative being pushed on us by the 0.1% owned mainstream media that is pushing this division, actively pushing a negative narrative on the world that we're supposed to be living in, and it's all for the purpose of someone's profit. That's just sick, and this is the world we live in. So anyway, have the best day you can, and be a decent person, for God's sake, please.